That's the path that these companions were in. They were great individuals because of their love of the Messenger of God, because of their suhbah of the Messenger of God sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alih. It was a community united in the love of the Messenger of God. It was a community that spent every day, every hour that they could with our Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alih as he transformed their qulub. And you can imagine if you put yourself in this world of Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara and you live day in and day out with the Messenger of God sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alih, and you took this spiritual journey of your heart with him alayhi wa ala alih salam, and you had the blessing of seeing him every day sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alih, you can now imagine the difficulties that started to befall this community during the last year of his life sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alih. And in that year in Ramadan, it was the habit of our Messenger that he would go into spiritual seclusion for 10 days. In this Ramadan, he went in for 20. Jibreel alayhi salam every Ramadan would come to him and review the Quran. In this Ramadan, he reviewed it with him twice. Our Messenger alayhi wa ala alihi salam, he started to see a sign. He knew something was happening. A few months later in the Hajj, what was known as Hajjatul Wada', later, the farewell Hajj, Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam, he comes and he reveals to our Prophet alayhi wa ala alihi salam, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا. If the nasr of the victory of Allah comes in the opening and you see people coming into Islam in large groups. In the narration of Imam Ahmad, the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi, he turns to Sayyidina Jibreel and he says, "Oh Jibreel, it seems I've just been given the notice of my death." Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam, Allah, he says to him, وَلَلْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنَ الْأُولَى. He says to him, what Allah has in store for you in the Akhirah is greater than this world. And he returns sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi to the companions in that Hajj. And he says to them, listen to what I'm about to tell you, because I don't know if I'll be with you next year. Now imagine you're a companion of the Prophet. Even myself, just hearing these words, so heavy. Sharing these words so heavy. And imagine you're a companion. Lived with him, saw him, smelled his beautiful fragrance, touched his hand which was softer than silk, dealt with the man who completely changed your heart. And you start to see the signs that he sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi may not be with you soon. And he returns to Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara. And shortly thereafter he sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi starts to fall ill. An extreme fever befalls him. Extreme headache that was worse than what 10 men could bear. And one day he sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi, he stands on the minbar knowing what's happening. And he tells the companions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given a choice to a servant, that he can stay in this world and enjoy all the good of an everlasting life, or he can return to him. فاختار ما عنده. He chose to return to him. Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu anhu wa ardah, hearing these words, he starts to cry. And he says, "O Messenger of God, may our parents be a ransom to you. May my mother and my father be a ransom to you." And the Sahaba were confused. They said, the Messenger of God is talking about a man who Allah gave a choice to, and he chose the better thing. Why is this old man Abu Bakr crying? Their qulub, their hearts didn't see with the softness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to Sayyidina Abu Bakr. And the days would pass, and he sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi would lead them in prayer, going up to them each day, until one day he was unable. 3 times he sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi got up to go out in salah, and every time he fell. Until he ordered Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq to lead them. And Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu wa arda leads them in salah for about 17 prayers. And during this time, he alayhi wa ala alihi salam, he comes out to stand on the minbar one day. And look at his humility. You want to talk about humility? He stands on the minbar with everyone around him. The perfected creation of Allah. The most humble creation of Allah. The most exalted creation of Allah. In a state of humility, he says, if there's any one of you that I've harmed, if there's any one of you that I was unjust to, here I am. Take retribution from me. Who did he harm? Who was he ever unjust to? Utter humility. And he goes back, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi, to his room. Until the day comes that Allah decreed. And Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq is leading the companions in the Fajr prayer. And Sayyidina Anas ibn Malik is narrating this story. He says, as we're praying, we see the curtain for the room of Sayyidah Aisha open. And we see, as we're praying, the face of the Messenger of God looking at us. And he sees us in salah, and he's smiling. We're in salah, praying to Allah, but we're looking at the Messenger of God looking at us, and we see him sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi smiling at us. He draws back the curtain, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi. And Sayyidina Anas says, we didn't see him after that day. The last vision that the Messenger of God sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi had of his ummah with their diversity was standing in salah praying. And he smiled with his beautiful face. Can you imagine that scene? What I would give to see him smile on any day, let alone that smile. He was smiling at an ummah that he knew was diverse in race, at an ummah that he knew was diverse in gender, at an ummah that he knew was diverse in thought, at an ummah that he knew was diverse in many personalities. He embraced that, and he was smiling at them. We have to reorient our qulub, my brothers and sisters, to that smile of the Messenger of God. We have to open our hearts to what he sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala ali lived and died for. Our Prophet was humble. Our Prophet was beautiful. Our Prophet alayhi wa ala alihi salam was graceful. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens our quloob to his qualities. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens our hearts to the smile of the Messenger of God, Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala causes us to embrace each other through our diversity, through the last smile of the Prophet of God sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam ajma'in. Salamullahi alaykum wa rahmatullahi.